Hello, I hope you are well. Welcome to another World Predictions and Message video. Okay, so I've decided to read some more of the story, The Hidden Child. Now, the way I'm doing it, because some of the books have already been written, and I knew there was something special to them. I started work on these in 2009, so I just knew that I had to link them somehow, and I have been rattling my brain for ages, trying to work out how to do that. And they made me wait such a long time. So it starts off with The Hidden Child. Now, if you remember, if you've listened to the story, if you haven't, you need to go and do that before you hear the next bit. She was taken. There were 5 aspects of her of the child that were taken to 5 different dimensions, time periods, that kind of thing. Think Doctor Who. That's all I can say. Okay. Now, the first one, now we've got a lot of supernatural stuff in it because I was asked to write that way, and there are reasons for it. So we've got her going to London in 1893. Okay, with Knight of Swords. Now it's it's conveyed in, I'm sorry, there's showing me weird things outside. It's conveyed in the voice of a man who comes to a sister. And it makes a lot of comments about divine feminine, divine masculine, all sorts of stuff. And it's also has vampire in it, okay? And it goes down that line. So I have Knight of Swords based on tarot cards. Then I have Ace of Swords. And I have Queen of Swords. And it goes down that line that way. Then it goes down another one, and all of these books are linked because they're all parts of her, okay, and they're all linked, and it goes to Londinium, which is I'm going to be changing the names of all of these, but they basically where she's linked to Londinium as well, which is the city in the future that is underground. Now that city is in layers, and it's talking about the different layers of consciousness, of being, ascension, and the dimensions, heavenly dimensions, if you like. So that is Londinium again, and that's connected to that part. So that is set in the future. Is that 26th? No. I can't remember the date. I haven't read it for ages. But way in the future. And it dictates what says what's happened to the earth. I've mentioned it a few times. It's called Dead Sun, and it was originally called Dead Sun, Lady of Londinium, and it goes that way. It's all about how she affects these different time places, and there'll be a book at the end that I will write, which brings it all together, the whole world together. Then I have one where it's about a witch in another time zone, and it goes down that way. Now this it brings in people from different worlds, the witch one. I have I'm not so sure about what the 5th one's going to be yet. I haven't written anything for the 5th strand where she goes, but the other one is possibly about a medium who sees all of these things. Yeah, not me, don't worry. But I'm not sure yet with that. So these 2 strands need work, but these other ones there are books, and they're clearly defined, and they've all got to link up in some shape or form. So that's what's going to happen there. It's a lot about time travel, about the medium one's going to be the call, I think, that I've been planning to write about. So it's all based on the information that I've been getting, I've been receiving. These are channeled messages. A lot of them coming direct from the divine. These people are they give me the information. It's supposed to go out this way. It is some sort of a legacy. It is about the angels. It's connected to the angels and the divine feminine, divine masculine. And it's to help change attitudes and ideas in the world, to stop the enslavement of humanity and to break the chains of ignorance, to break, this is their words, not mine, to break everything down, the boundaries down, and to reveal what has been hidden. It's a kind of justice for us all. Okay, so I'm going to be reading from Knight of Swords first. Okay, now I wrote this back in 2009, and boy did I have some strange experiences. I put it this way, I was writing at my desk. I knew there was desk, it was my dining table in the dining room, when I was still with my ex-husband, and I was having some very strange experiences. I started seeing a lot of lights. I started seeing the characters in my mind's eye, but I knew it was different. It wasn't just writing, because often when you write, you don't see them. Okay, you don't see their face as such. That's what I mean to say, because they're an aspect of you. Okay, that's how writers work. And I believe if you're writing, you're channeling messages. Could be direct from yourself, the divine, whoever, right? And it wasn't the first time I'd had a strange experience from a book. I did have one where I wrote about this murderer, awful. And at the end, I'd written it a lot by hand. This was back, oh gosh, I've been writing since I was about 14, but I really started to go for it 25. I wrote proper books, and I wrote this big one, and there was a whole load of papers just blew around the room afterwards. I did have the door open, but it was a hot sunny day and there was no wind at all, and it just went even my own father was a bit I would put that away. So put all the papers together. It was like, when it was finished, it was like, ah. And so I had that, but this is where I met my guide properly. I was seeing all these lights, and it's his name in the story, because he's got many names. I've known him with many names, but I just call him Nathan because it was his name in the story. And it just seems to fit. And he, when I was writing it, I suddenly got these scenes where I thought I was actually there. All this snow, everything, all of this snow. And I could see them riding. I could feel the air fresh on my face, everything. I was like, and it's almost like I could just reach out and touch. There was a bit with some water, and I felt like I was on the beach and the water was coming in underneath the table at my feet. It was amazing. Then I had a very strange experience. I remember saying to my ex-husband, and our marriage was really breaking down by then, but I remember sitting on the sofa, and all of a sudden my character comes and sits next to me, puts his arm around me, and he's wearing a wedding ring. I'm thinking, the heck? So I actually said to myself, oh, this is weird, strange, I don't understand. He went, oh, maybe your character's talking to you and wants to be married. I was like, oh God. So I took it like that, wasn't, and, oh, sniff, sorry. And then I actually started going to a circle because I wanted to know what all these lights were. These twinkling lights. And somebody said to me in the comments on the members that I was sparkling. Yes, because the lights around me. Thank you for that. When I've gone to mediums before, they said, ooh, do you work with angels? They've got all these little lights. That actually those UAPs as well now. I understand that. And I've got some experiences to talk about on those from last night. But I'll be doing a video on that channel to the stars later, or to stars later. And so you can check that out. But I went to a circle and all these lights, and all different colours as well. And then I had this experience. We went to my son's prize giving thing at this school he was at. And I remember no, I tell a lie, it happened before that. I was sitting writing, and then I saw my character dressed up. And it was almost like when I've talked about that mind's eye, but also in that space in between, and then I physically say them. So it was sort of in that space between. And he entered the room, came across right through the table, kissed me on the forehead and walked away. And I was like, what the hell? And then it got even worse. And I went to this prize giving, and there was a line, and everybody was trying to sit with everybody, and I was always the odd one out. It's the way I am. And I was right at the end, and I had to keep moving down. Oh, can so-and-so sit there? So I had to keep moving down, until there was only one chair left at the side, vacant. And he came, and I saw him really vividly in that space in between before I started seeing really full-on apparition, seeing him full-on. And he sat in the chair and just sat grinning at me. Oh my God. I was like, what? Really? Sorry, my battery's gone. Really? It was bizarre. And then I think he used to like going to prize giving, because he would, the next prize giving I went to, because I had all of these, I kept seeing him at all different ages. I've seen him as a 14-year-old, a little boy, a man. I've seen him many different ways. And there was one prize given though that must have been the next year, and I was sitting a different part towards the aisle, not right at the side, and he said to me, and I could see him, you know, and I'm going to find out if he's got any prizes, me and my son. So he went down to the front, and they're sorting out all the prizes to give, and you had to go up and get your prize. And they had no idea that this bloke standing there looking at, he came back, he's going to get 3. He did. So very odd experiences, and then it just got stronger and stronger. And then I did a spin-off to it, a short blog post, and I was asked to send it to my medium friend, who gave me a message from him before I was conversing properly. So it's a lot of special stuff, a lot of strange experiences doing it, and all of my books since then. So, and it's like this team comes in and they show me the scenes, they dress up as characters. Everything is very, very important. So I hope you enjoy it. And if you want the reading that comes afterwards, if you can go over to my new channeled Stories, I do a tarot reading on it, and we get some more information because it's a world message. So thank you very much for watching this. I really appreciate it. You can check out more of my work on my Inkit page, my Allegra King page. I've written 200 and odd novels, traditionally published as Arabella Kingsley, and but I'm writing these as Allegra King, so you can check them out. Details will be in the description. Thank you so very much. There's a big message here, and it is from the divine. It's some sort of justice. It's about the angels. It's about, as I say, divine, feminine, masculine. It's about humanity and the angels wishing to set the record straight. It's a lot about Enoch. There's something about that. They keep going on about that. Setting the record straight with humanity and with the divine and themselves. The truth revealed about the nature of the world, what goes on within it, and the freeing of humanity. It's very odd, but as we go on, we might get more information, but it is for everyone. And these stories, I've had to censor a little bit, and yes, there's a couple of corrections probably need making, but I've had to censor a bit because this is YouTube, so you're never going to get the full thing, because, as I say, my work's been stolen so many times. So if you're thinking about trying, anyone out there who's Not in my community trying to do that. Think again, because you're not getting the full story. Okay, but the books will be, you'll be able to buy them again soon. All right, take care of yourselves, and I hope if you, you know, don't go any further than the reading. Thank you very much for watching. Take care, and I shall see you next time. Please like, share, subscribe, and I hope you enjoyed the world predictions one before that. Okay, take care. See you next time. Bye. Knight of Swords. October, London, 1893, Lord and Lady Huntley's ball. I first saw the young woman I was destined to be with for eternity as a vampire, the night of Lord and Lady Huntley's ball in their London home in Mayfair. It was a dark, inhospitable, heavy fog night in London, close to Halloween, and Lady Huntley promised a séance for those interested around midnight. I had never believed in such things. Excuse me. I always believed it nonsense and initially had no plans to take part in the parlour game, but as the night progressed, my mind would be changed. After several dances with many of the ladies desperate for me to take them for a wife, I grew tired and decided to test my powers of seduction and attempt to seduce Lady Huntley herself. My friends Ross and Alistair gambled that I would not be able to manage the feat. So many suitors had tried in vain to gain her affection and the promise of future wealth as her spouse when her ailing husband finally breathed his last. By the recent look of the man and his great age, it could be any time soon. I did not care for her wealth. My fortune was far superior. Her older beauty was tolerable, above average, and her figure shapely so. I was not averse to the idea. However, persuading the future widow to engage in a dalliance in one of the rooms, whilst her husband frequented his bed, was another matter. Lady Huntley was fabled for her devotion, adoration, and love of her husband, and so far every man had failed to woo her. I was not deterred. Perhaps it is arrogant, but I hadn't yet met a woman who hadn't fallen for my charms or my money. I confess it was starting to become tiresome. I coveted a challenge. The first part of my plan was to request the pleasure of a dance with Lady Huntley. My manners and polite decorum were courteous. I made sure I engaged the lady in a discussion about her favourite subjects, in particular her work as a philanthropist and my own projects. I dabbled a little in charity work with my uncle and previous guardian, Lord Legate, and this appeared to enthrall the woman. Comments about her beauty and the ball followed next. I smiled gently when the lady blushed and viewed me coyly as I swept her around the dance floor of the huge hall amongst the other guests as the orchestra played the waltz. I was growing confident I would be successful when I saw her. It was the flash of red gold hair that first caught my attention. I always admired this shade on a woman, even though many others stayed clear, believing it denoted the fiery temper of the lady. I allowed no such nonsense to bar me from making her acquaintance, but I also fancied she would prove tempestuous and create the ambience of fire and passion in our relationship. I turned my head in an attempt to see her face, deliberately sweeping Lady Huntley around and closer to the delectable petite figure in cream and gold. I had never seen such beauty in a woman before. Her soft pale complexion was radiant, crowned by her beautiful hair and sparkling emerald eyes. There was an ethereal quality to her that captivated my gaze and held me spellbound like no other woman had before. She was dancing with an older gentleman who I believed to be her father. My attempt to catch the lady's attention with a simple smile was in vain. She would not look in my direction, appearing to be animated in conversation with her father as they danced. I turned back to Lady Huntley, who looked a little discouraged by my inattention. I beamed a smile and pulled her even closer, so much so the lady gave a small gasp. I looked down at her, casting my gaze appreciatively over her. Her delicate cheeks warmed as Ross passed by with his own partner. I was winning the battle. Seducing the lady was a lot easier than I had believed it would be. But who was this new woman who had entered London's elite social set? I had never seen her before. I had been away to university in Oxford for the last 3 years and just returned, but I had not seen her father before either. I made sure I did not look at her again, but instead decided to do some detective work to uncover her identity. I had to have her for myself. Lady Huntley, I began. Please call me Hortensia. I smiled. It was not the most flattering of names, yet when I spoke it, I made sure it was with delicacy and reverence. Hortensia. Lady Huntley fluttered her eyelashes and lowered her head in a blush at the mention of her name on my lips. When we had first began our conversation during the dance, she had talked about her husband ill in bed upstairs. It felt as though an age had passed before she would talk of something else. But now I had her full attention, and there was no other distraction except the young lady who had caught my eye. Who is the lady in the cream and gold taffeta gown and the gentleman dancing with her? I have not seen them before. Hortensia glanced to her side at them both. My eyes remained on her. That is Lord Cameron, the shipping tycoon, and his niece, Lady Constance Gaudin. He is quite the recluse since his health has begun to fail him. She was taken in by him as a child when her parents were killed. He is her guardian. He dotes on the child, much to the annoyance of his second wife and the family she brought into the marriage with her, 2 sons and a daughter. Unlike Constance, who adores him, they have no care or love for their stepfather, only his money, something his new wife clearly had prominently on her mind when she married him. Lord Cameron's relationship with them all has been fraught with disappointment. His adopted sons are both gamblers and violent. He has had to repay many debts on their behalf, numerous times. His stepdaughter's temper with the men who have tried to court her and his staff is legendary. She will never make a suitable match. Look, they are over there talking to Lord Garland now. I discreetly glanced over 2 surly, bad-tempered looking young men scowling at the dance floor and at those around them. One of them was throwing back his drink whilst the young woman at their side gave everyone a superior, haughty look as Lady Cameron conversed with the man beside her. That girl is not fit for polite society, nor are her brothers. Lord Cameron has always been an amiable, kind, caring man, and I believe this new family has contributed to his ailing health. He has not been seen in London for a long time. I was pleased when he accepted my invitation. He is contributing to the orphanage I am setting up in Marylebone. Yes, worthy cause, Lady Huntley. I am sorry, forgive me, Hortensia. And which of his adopted sons will inherit his fortune? My game was to make conversation as I spun Lady Huntley around so I could watch a beautiful Constance dance. Finally, my scrutiny was to be rewarded. The lady was to look my way. She frowned as I continued to gaze upon her. I allowed my mouth to widen into a smile, and she softened for a moment, returning it with a gentle nod of her head and a delicate curl of her perfect lips. It is a shame such wealth must be put in the hands of brutes, Lady Huntley continued. The fortune which is made of his own and Lord Gaudin's estate, and equal only to your own, Lord Valancourt, will be squandered by William the eldest, the one you seek who cannot tolerate his drink. It is a pity. Perhaps the lady would prove a more worthy heir to his legacy. I agree, but it is never the way of such things. The music ended and we all stood clapping. I cast my eyes round the dance floor, hoping to catch another glimpse of Lady Gaudin, but she was nowhere to be seen. Ross and Alistair nodded to me. They had given me only an hour to satisfy the bet, and my time was running out. I wanted to release myself from the gamble, eager to pursue Constance, but a bet is a bet. Perhaps I would be able to pursue her at leisure after I had engaged with Lady Huntley, before this dreadful tiresome séance was to take place. I took hold of Lady Huntley's white-gloved hand and brushed my lips against it. I continued to hold it. I do not wish to part company with you, Hortensia, or release you to another partner. Come take a walk with me to somewhere more private, so we can talk some more. Her mouth widened into a smile. Surely you do not wish to spend all of your time with an older married woman like myself. I grinned. I usually preferred to make love to older women. They were sophisticated, elegant, and their beauty was alluring. That was why it surprised me I was so attracted to the younger Constance Gordane. I gave a gentle but firm tug on Lady Huntley's hand to pull her closer so that I could whisper in her ear. She gasped again. On the contrary, madam, I find many of the younger women vapid and without intelligent, eloquent conversation. I fear I shall fret and pine if you leave me to them. Lady Huntley giggled, and I could see by the agitated rise of her chest she was becoming excited and perhaps even aroused by my attention. You are wicked, Lord Valancourt, but I will indulge you just this once. Lord Huntley is ill and asleep more and more frequently these days. I have been quite alone for such a long time. I love and adore him dearly. Her voice had turned soft and tears gathered in her eyes for a brief moment before tightening with a determined resolve. Truly, I do love him. I have no doubt of it. But a woman needs companionship and love. I have been without it for over a year, and I feel I will go quite mad if I do not have it. I don't think a woman should be alone on these cold autumn nights. Do you, Lord Valancourt? She looked up at me with the innocence of a child as I led her from the dance floor, the music taking up again. No, I most certainly do not, Lady Huntley. Perhaps we can remedy the situation immediately. Okay. I discreetly manoeuvred Lady Huntley out of the ballroom to the library. As I did so, I heard the distinct rustle of taffeta. Glancing backwards, I saw Lady Constance Gordane walking back to the ballroom past some other guests in the hallway. Her eyes lingered on me for a while, and I witnessed disapproval in her eyes. Rather than feeling affront, I felt amusement. I looked at her darkly, marking hers mine with my possessive eyes, and her own widened in surprise. A gentle blush covered her features, inducing me to suppress a small laugh before turning back to Lady Huntley and ushering her into the library. Okay, I'm just going to go on past this bit. Okay, I met with Ross and Alistair a short time later. Cue fire, who had viewed me taking Lady Huntley to the library. I never thought even you would be successful, Ross grinned at me as I took a glass of champagne from the waiter. He slapped my back hard, making me lurch forward and nearly choke on my champagne. He laughed out loud. But I can see I underestimated you. You have never failed yet. It will be a pleasure to pay up. I took some more champagne. I have no want of your money. I rather you commit to a forfeit. That sounds like fun, Alistair laughed. And what would you have me do, Lord Valancourt? I put my glass to my lips and directed my eyes towards Lily Croft, sitting alone, pushing her spectacles up her nose, frowning at the dancing and all those around her. You cannot be serious, Nathan. Lily Croft? That blue stocking? I think not. She wouldn't even entertain me in conversation. She has a sharp, vicious tongue. Yes, she makes an interesting challenge. I have always believed there is a hidden passion in her depths. It simply requires the right man to bring it out. Ross twisted his handsome features with disgust and disdain. But she's so boring and plain. Perhaps you will be able to transform the ugly duckling into a swan. Alistair and I laughed. Have you no shame, sir? A soft, indignant female voice spoke loudly. Or a heart? I turned to my side to see Lady Gordane. I opened my mouth to speak and defend myself, but she rebuked me again, clearly determined to have the last word on the matter. Are women and their feelings merely sport for you, sir? Her beautiful eyes twinkled like fiery emerald jewels with anger, holding my gaze captive. No, on the contrary, Lady Gordane. I adore women, too much for my own good, I fear. I apologise for what you heard. What can I do to make amends for my offence? No, don't worry, he gets taught a lesson. Right. I heard Ross and Alistair chuckle behind me. You can start by reforming your character, sir, and having care for the women you seduce into your arms, especially our host, Lady Huntley. Perhaps you would give me some instruction on how I might reform my behaviour whilst we dance. I was pushing my luck, but there hadn't been a woman I hadn't been able to soften in an argument, yet the lady was to surprise me. I think not, Lord Valancourt. I have been warned of your reputation, and I do not wish to consort with a man of your calibre and loose morals. Good evening, sir. She finished dismissing me with a small curtsy. Shocked at her words, I gave a respectful bow and watched her walk away to introduce herself to Lady Croft and engage her in conversation as though to protect her from us. Ross and Alistair found our short conversation greatly amusing. My feelings were vexed. I wanted what I could not have all the more, and I would not be defeated so easily. Midnight approached and Lady Huntley gathered together all of those who wished to take place in the séance. It was to be led by a renowned German psychic, Madame Rasmussen. I had planned to watch the proceedings in the periphery of the room, like many others, and ignore Lady Huntley's pleas for me to join her, but my mind was changed when I learnt Lady Gaudain was to take part. The 8 of us were shown into the square, softly lit Egyptian room and asked to sit around on an oval table with a lit candelabra. Constance did her best to keep away from me, but I was to put a stop to her avoidance in thwarting the plan of a gentleman I had seen her dancing with earlier to sit next to her. She gave me a pouting frown when I sat down, leaving her partner forced to retreat to the opposite side. With Lord Cameron on her right side and Lady Huntley on my left, Madame Rasmussen asked us to place our hands flat on the table with sides touching each other's. Lady Gaudain refused to look at me as our skin touched. I smiled, amused by her coyness, as Madame Rasmussen began to call upon the spirits. It was an effort to keep my composure and amusement firmly in check. "Is there anyone there?" Madame Rasmussen called out in a heavy, accident voice, after instructing us to quieten our minds and release our energy for her own manipulation, to gather forth those from beyond the grave who wished to speak. We all sat in silence, patiently waiting for an answer. When none was forthcoming, the psychic medium became a little testy and shouted, "I command the spirits to come forward and communicate with us." All of a sudden, a fierce gust of chilly air blew around the room, making the candles on the table flicker. Everyone murmured, and some of the ladies gasped. I glanced at Constance, who graced me with an unchecked, fearful look, to which I returned a reassuring one. Then she narrowed her eyes at me, appearing cross with herself. No matter, I would take care of her whether she wished me to or not. I raised an eyebrow when Madame Rasmussen gave a loud, piercing shriek and fell back in her chair, seemingly unconscious. More shocked gasps and murmurings echoed around the whole room as the candles and the lamps around us flickered once more. However, no one made a move to assist Madame Rasmussen, and with good reason, I may add. Less than a moment later, she sat bolt upright in her chair, apparently in a trance, and began to speak and chant in a language I had never heard before. It sounded ancient, perhaps Sumerian. She spoke it fast, and although it appeared to be her voice, on closer inspection, I did not believe it so. There was a deepness to it I had previously not detected. Perhaps the spirit was speaking through her. Usually, I would have presumed this séance to be a clever act, but as the voice changed and became even more distinctly masculine in nature, I began to doubt my assertion. Hearing anxious, panting breaths coming from Lady Gaudain, I turned my head to look in her direction to see her countenance flushed. She looked ready to faint. As the chanting grew louder and the room darker, I was surprised when she suddenly took hold of my hand and Lord Cameron's and gripped tight. She looked at me with terror in her eyes. "Do not let go, I beg of you," she demanded of me. "He is coming." I opened my mouth to ask who she was talking of, when a black mist formed above our heads. It thickened until it became a black liquid rippling overhead. Madame Rasmussen gave a loud, eerie male laugh and then fell forwards so that her head came to rest on the table with an almighty thud. Everyone jumped but did not dare to leave and break the circle. Everyone's attention turned to the strange liquid cloud formed above us as it parted in the middle, and a fierce wind blew around the Egyptian room, blowing out the candles in front of us. Lady Gaudain's hand gripped tighter, and I made sure my own larger one engulfed it, providing her with the reassurance and protection she requested of me. Madame Rasmussen suddenly sat up again and spoke as herself, apparently released from the spirits who had briefly inhabited her. Do not break the circle. We have made contact with a murderer who still lives and stalks London this very night, looking for prey. The vampire killer, I murmured along with everyone else, shocked that such a feat was manageable. Lord Cameron spoke next above the wind, growing to the point that I feared we would all be blown back from the table. But how can we make contact with a living spirit, Madame Rasmussen? I do not know. This has never happened before. I believe he is both dead and living. He comes. Do not break the circle. Oh, I've missed a line. A true vampire, is that possible? He comes. Do not break the circle or his spirit will roam free amongst us. It is too dangerous. We must not let this happen. We must listen to him and allow the fates to help us. She looked directly at Lady Gordain. He comes for you. I will not let him harm you. The words slipped from my mouth with powerful determination. I could play the attentive, protective lover with ease, but this was more. This fragile woman was provoking a fierce protective need in me. I did not understand why she executed such a powerful reaction in my heart. The black liquid above us thickened and descended. It separated into two to swirl and hover like small whirlwinds over the table before moving at speed towards both Lady Gordain and myself. It was an instinct to reel back as it approached, but there was no escape. The thick black substance dived inside my body, and Lady Gordain's just below our chests. Darkness engulfed me, and I felt myself falling. To my surprise, I landed in a London back street covered in thick fog, and I was not alone. This was the first time I would be the guest, witness to a gruesome murder. The monster had come to collect me in this first instance from the seance, and would do later from my dreams in the coming days. He changed their pleasant landscape and replaced them with visions of death that would forever haunt my soul. Somehow this creature had the terrifying ability to walk through my mind and lead my very consciousness into his own dark-filled world. I would see his cruel murders firsthand. His emotions and mine became one and the same, linked by some fateful bond. Only fear and revulsion remained my own. Our senses were entwined. I felt the touch, smell, taste and sound of all that he did. How, I did not know. Perhaps he filled my soul with a part of his essence to command me. I did not care to know. I just wanted it to stop. This night of the seance, I found myself compelled to travel down the cobbled streets to a small secluded alley in a forgotten, dirty, damp corner of Whitechapel, not far from when one of the notorious Ripper murders had taken place a few years earlier and was now the haunt of the vampire killer. To my horror, this was somewhere I recognised. The memory flashed strong and vivid in my mind. I had taken Matilda, the daughter of the landlord, from the nearby drinking establishment, the Candlewick, against the wall not a few weeks before. I remembered her innate giggling. I have to censor that, I'm afraid. Okay. I would come to recognise every place the monster took me. They were always the scene of one of my carnal sins. It was all part of the punishment he had so meticulously devised for me. I would come to wonder if this killer was part of myself that had manifested into physical form, just as in the strange case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Such was the confusion and pain he placed in my mind. The lines between our separate realities began to blur, and for the first time in my life, I began to doubt myself. Yet I knew in my heart I was different. I was most definitely not this evil man. My nature, although flippant at times, flirtatious, capricious, and even arrogant, I could never murder or hurt a woman in such a cruel fashion. I held on to the thoughts and my ideal of myself, and slowly I grew strong enough to realize the truth. Other than to walk dutifully behind him, my body would not move. My will was not my own. He wore the garments of a clergyman, but I never saw his face. It was always obscured by the shadows that seemed to surround him whenever we travelled. He walked with a limp. His unsteady gait made his laboured footsteps heavy upon the cobbled streets. The clumping sound chillingly announced his arrival into my dreams when he came to collect my soul night after the seance. But the night of the seance, his heavy tread mingled with the noise of the woman's dead body he dragged across the cobbles at his side, my sight fixed more closely on the woman murdered with his vicious vampire bite in her throat. It was, you must excuse my emotion, it was Sophie, a young woman who had been misfortunate to attract my lust. This callous, unforgiving creature took the women I had made love to from my past. Oh God, Sophie, I am so sorry you ever met me. Sophie would be his 5th killing in the last month, but the first I was to witness him feeding from that fateful night. 5 innocent souls tormented by his cruelty before their murders. He had shown me the images of their point of death in my mind with relish. I tried to connect with any shred of humanity left in this vampire monster, to cease his compulsion to harm, but my efforts always fell upon deaf ears. I offered my own life in return. When that did not move him, I vowed I would find a way to stop him. Somehow I would kill him, even if I swung for it. I would kill him. I thundered this attention at him with anger, but he merely laughed at the suggestion, continuing diligently with his task. The vampire was pleased with the choice he had made in selecting Sophie as his victim, but it was not only me he punished with his vile acts. Sophie bore a very close resemblance to his lost sweetheart, the woman who had rejected his tormented soul, and to my surprise, Lady Gaudin. This woman, this Juliet, whose name he whispered as he maimed and killed, drove his murders in equal strength to his passion to punish me. Somehow the man had linked our perceived crimes, deeming them both worthy of the same punishment. I could not help but feel as though he had believed I had wooed Juliet and taken her from him, as I had done with other women from other men. Yet I had never met her. I confess I was confused and bewildered by his anger toward me. Jealousy seemed as good a reason for his hostility as any other. Though I did not know of Juliet or of her life, I was drawn to her through this creature. Every killing was the monster's rehearsal of Juliet's eventual demise, and I feared for her life. I felt incredibly protective of her, just as I did of Constance Gaudin, relieved that despite all of his efforts, he had not been able to detect her whereabouts. The man pulled Sophie's body up and pressed her against the wall in the alleyway to press his face into the fateful wound in her throat, to catch the rich essence that poured from her broken body. I closed my eyes tight, unable to take the gruesome spectacle. I struggled to support myself on my shaping legs as Sophie's blood seeped into the cobbles around my feet. I'm not going to read the rest of that because this is YouTube. A soft feminine cry startled both the monster and myself. The dreadful sucking noise abruptly ceased. I opened my eyes with a quick sharpness to find the source of the distressed utterance. I heard him whisper her name with reverence. Juliet, my love, Juliet, you have come at last. Only it was not Juliet, it was Constance Gaudin. Okay, I hope you enjoyed that, and I would love to read more of this. Unfortunately, I have had to censor it a little bit because it's YouTube. But you will be able to buy the book again on Amazon soon. But I am going to do more readings. So if you're watching this on my main channel, the World Predictions channel, please come over to Channel Stories, because I'm going to do a reading on that. I could see a lot in that. And we'll see what information we get about it. There's definitely a Jekyll and Hyde theme runs through all of, all of my books, to be honest with you. And it's explaining a lot to me as I've read it. It needs some work again. But I hope you enjoyed it. And either way, if this is where I say goodbye to you on the main channel, thank you very much for listening. Please like, share, subscribe. And I'd love you to come over to the main one, the Channel Stories channel, to hear the reading on this. If you'd like to do that, I shall see you there. Take care. Bye.